You're listening to Head Voice, bringing you inside the minds of singers and sound creators who are redefining what it means to make music with the voice. I'm Evan, and this week we are joined by Peter and Cal from Micappella. They're a professional group all the way from Singapore that started out competing in the Chinese version of the Sing-Off, where they won second place, and since then have been gigging all around the world. Their next gig is actually at the Pro Showcase this weekend at Boss, which we're really excited to see because we're going to be there. If you're going to be at the festival, please do say hi. We may even have some stickers available. Just a reminder that at 2:30 on Saturday, we are leading a panel called Bursting the Aka Bubble, which we're going to put out as an episode next week, talking to 4 creatives and musicians from the Boston area about what can be learned from the music industry as a whole and how acapella is perceived by outsiders. So we're really excited for that. One last thing before we get into it, Peter and Cal could only record in a crowded outside area because of scheduling things, so you may hear that in the audio, but they are a ton of fun to talk to, so I really hope you enjoyed this episode with Peter and Cal from Micappella.
Awesome. So hi, Peter and Cal. We're so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having us.
This is really, really awesome. It's 7 a.m. for us and 7 p.m. for you
Thanks
guys.
for waking up.
But we really wanted to make this work, so we're happy that we could. So if you wouldn't mind kind of just starting a little bit and telling us introductions about yourselves personally and where you're from and all of that.
Right. So we're from a small country in Southeast Asia called Singapore. For those who are unfamiliar, we are 26 miles from east to west and about 18, 19 miles north to south. That's it.
Okay, I didn't know that, but sure.
Yeah. She knows it in kilometers. And we are a 6-person group. We have 4 guys, 2 girls. I'm the vocal percussionist. Cal here is the alto. And the 2 of us are the ones responsible for the whole idea.
No, it's your fault.
Okay, all right, fine.
How did you both get started doing music?
Well, my dad is a violin teacher. So, so basically I grew up listening to really out-of-tune violin playing. And,
That's not saying much about your dad.
Maybe that's why, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do better. So I just got into music. Yeah, no, but he trained me in piano at first. And then when I went to university, it's college, right?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, so when I went to college, I joined an a cappella group. So that was my first experience singing a cappella. And then after that, I graduated. I did freelance music stuff. Like I sang in pubs. I played for people. And then Peter came along. Yeah.
And that's where the
Peter
intersect
just popped up.
Yeah.
So that's her path before the intersect.
Yep.
My path was I was more of a sports boy growing up, and I was forced to do music lessons. Starting out with typical classical piano and a little bit of Chinese orchestra stuff. So I played erhu, dizi, which are all traditional Chinese instruments. One is like a vertical violin, is a bowed instrument, and dizi is a bamboo flute. So those are my initial instrumental beginnings. I only started singing in secondary school, which is 13 years old, and that was in a choir. My introduction to contemporary a cappella was when I was 15, when the choir went on a trip to an a cappella festival in Singapore, and then I was like, "This is cool."
Yeah,
I want to do this.
My first experience with a cappella was surprisingly NSYNC.
NSYNC?
Yeah, I heard their version of "When You Wish Upon a Star."
Oh.
So so I mean, I was into kind of like pop last time, so I was listening to Spice Girls and stuff, and I was yeah. So I was quite fascinated by the harmony, and then I heard NSYNC's version of "When You Wish Upon a Star," and I was like, "What is this? I cannot cannot figure out what they're singing, Yeah, and I was like really, really intrigued. So I went to like do more research and join an a cappella group.
My earlier influences were more surprisingly jazz based. So a lot of Tick Six, a lot of. I know we sound nothing like them. And a lot, and the Japanese group called Tritone, which is a very jazzy 5-piece group. I don't know whether you've heard of them.
No.
But Kaiichiro Kitamura from Tritone is the newest member of Australia's Idea of the North. So he has joined them as a vocal percussionist.
Wow.
And he's the only Asian group in an only Asian member in an Australian group. It's kind of a strange thing.
That's
So that's where I first started out doing VP, and that eventually became something I focused on. When the group first started, I was actually trying to not be the VP. I was trying to be either the baritone or the tenor, but eventually I went back into the VP role.
Sorry.
So where did the like initial idea to start the group come from?
Okay, it was my fault.
Yes.
So I was previously, just prior to forming the group, I was in a record label in Taiwan. I was living in Taiwan for about 2 years. I released a solo singer-songwriter album. I was a guitar playing singer-songwriter type. But I kind of got tired of that, and I wanted to be in a group, and I wanted to get back to a cappella.
So he came back to Singapore.
So I came back to Singapore.
But he had to find a job first because, you can't do anything.
Because I just moved back and I was broke.
Yeah, without money. So he came to... I was working in a company at that time that was doing like music enrichment programs for kids. Yeah, so he kind of like auditioned as an instructor. So I saw his resume.
Didn't go so well.
And I was like, wow, you have a ton of a cappella stuff in there.
Like 70% of my resume was a cappella
90% of his resume was a cappella. And then we started talking about a cappella, and he was like, hey, I want to form a group. I was like, okay. And he's like, he wanted to do something that is related to like Chinese a cappella. And and more like towards rock. So that was completely, the rock part was completely my element. And the Chinese part was a new thing to me, because when I was in university, we basically just sang like English a cappella.
100% English songs.
About 90% English songs. So I was like, I've never actually really heard much Chinese a cappella. So I thought that would be a good idea to try and see if it works. Yeah.
We were considered kind of strange to embark on that path.
It is strange, yes.
But it's worked out pretty all right for us so far. I reckon. So long story short, I auditioned for the job. I didn't join her company eventually.
Did you actually teach before?
No, not really.
He did a few classes.
I did projects. I never joined the company.
Yeah, no.
But subsequently, not long after, like a couple months after, she left the company. So, wasn't sure who was interviewing who.
I'm curious what the state of a cappella was in Singapore when you formed the group initially. Like, you'd mentioned that there were at least groups in college and that there were festivals. Like, what was the scene kind of like that you were assessing when you were putting it together?
To clarify, there was a group in a college. That's it. That is the entirety of the college scene.
Actually, yes.
At that time,
at that time, only my university had an a cappella
had one
group.
club.
Had an a cappella club. We had like a few in a few other colleges, but ours was the biggest.
And by far the earliest.
Yeah, and we mainly sang jazz and like really outdated pop songs.
Hand-me-down charts.
Yes, most of the time. Some of our seniors tried to transcribe and stuff. Yeah. And we do have a few of our own. And I started transcribing as well. So, I kind of updated the repertoire a little bit. But generally, it's just English.
Were you MD?
Pop. Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was the president of the club. Yeah, for a while. Yeah, so it's mainly just jazz, pop. That's about it. Yeah. You know. Yeah, stuff like that.
Not our style.
No.
So when you first started, I know you mentioned that you did a lot of English songs, but what like stylistically, other than like rock or with rock too, like what stylistically were you trying to go for the sound of Micappella?
Okay.
Oh, well, when Micappella started, when we first started, we went right into Chinese.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
We went to
from the get-go.
Yeah, so we started arranging like Chinese songs, like covers of popular Chinese songs, and we actually did a lot more rock when we first started than actually we do now. Yeah.
We're mellowing out.
No, we're just keeping up with the times. It's different.
Now we're going more EDM now.
Yeah. Our sound was actually a little bit darker when we first started out.
A lot darker.
Yeah, we had a lot of we did a lot of experimentation with like distortion and
Linkin Park stuff.
Yeah, Linkin Park and
Iron Maiden.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you guys were a Soul Jam in 2013, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah,
I think we're doing that song in Boston.
Yes,
I think so.
Probably.
We'll see how asthmatic I get in the cold. I'm just kidding. I think I'll actually be fine. But now we're trying to continue the up tempo and the high energy, but rock seems to be less of a thing than it was 10 years ago.
We still do have rock songs, but we've expanded our genre quite a bit. To include like EDM, like pop.
Did that change away from rock happen before or after the sing-off?
Yeah, it actually happened with the change of members, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, ancient history.
We've changed about 6 to 10 members.
Nah, not 10.
6. Okay, maybe 6 members since we started. Yeah, so... yeah.
We call it by the versions. I'm VP 1.0. She's alto 1.0. Eugene's baritone 1.0. Junie is tenor 2.0.
Yeah.
Kex is soprano 4.0.
Yeah. So we've changed 3 sopranos.
Yeah, she's the 4th.
Mingwei
is bass 4.0.
4? So little.
Suni, Jin,
YK,
and then Mingwei.
Oh yes. Yeah.
For some reason, they always have Chinese names. They never have an English name.
So we have changed 6 members so far. Yeah. So I think when Junie and our second soprano joined, they were more of. Their voices were more pop as well, and their music taste was definitely more pop. So. Our sound kind of changed a little.
They were less aggro and emo
and angsty.
More balanced personalities than the rest of us. So yeah.
When you were in this participating in the sing off, who was like the group made of at that point?
Okay, so SOP 2.0, alto 1.0.
We can skip alto.
Tenor 2.0 and bass 2.0.
So out of the 6 people that we have right now, only bass and soprano were not. Top and bottom were not in sing-off.
Gotcha.
The middle and the drums were all in the sing-off.
Gotcha. And what was that experience like, just being on the sing-off, and like how did that sort of come together?
Well, to begin with, it was unexpected because on every single other version of the sing-off in other parts of the world, from what I understand, they only allowed groups from that country. So like South Africa would only have South African groups. The Dutch one will only have Dutch groups, so on and so forth. And of course, USA. For China, although we have a separate seat on the United Nations table, we were invited to come. And I didn't even attempt to apply. We were asked. And I found out after the fact that Deke Sharon had something to do with that. So thank you, Deke.
It's like, they're all Chinese. Just get them in.
If you ever see this, No regrets. So he yanked us in, and it was just kind of surreal because everything is what you remember from the American version, which is of course the most well known. And we're like, holy crap! I can't believe we're on this show.
Yeah, it was like actually really we were thrown into like
the lion's den.
A boot camp, and like we suddenly had so many cameras and so many things to do, and
suddenly we had to look pretty all the time.
And we had a wardrobe, we had choreo, we had like
can't exactly be caught like digging your nose and cameras everywhere.
Okay, that's for you, I guess.
What? Everybody does it at some point.
Yeah, but it was a really, really good experience, and being away from home for 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good test of our relationship.
In a
as
way,
well. Yeah.
it was also kind of intimidating because if you think about it, this is a very real thing. The TV audience size is technically quadruple that of the US version.
Oh,
just because China's got so many people.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? So
Yeah.
But I mean, when we were performing, I didn't have time to think
it's
about
just
that.
you're just in the studio, so you just don't think about that. But when you see what happens when the episode comes out, and then you see responses
it's crazy.
on the Chinese internet, it's just what?
It's really a lot of people. Yeah.
It got kind of strange when we were at a restaurant, and then the waiter was like, "Hang on, it's you guys."
No, we had
A
delivery boy from Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut of all companies.
Then we opened the hotel room door. He was like, oh, Micappella!
You would think
Like, we're holding the pizza and our food, and we're like, okay, can we have our food, please?
that he just kind of froze. I'm like, dude, do your job. I know it's kind of funny that we're in China and we didn't order Chinese, but never mind.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But I guess that's an American thing.
Yes.
How did you feel that the group evolved being on the show besides just being used to the bright lights and the big audience?
I think it was almost like a huge turnaround for us. We changed quite a lot in terms of how we dress, how we move on stage, how we arrange our songs. Actually, like we learned a lot about that. Yeah.
I think
Did you have people helping with arrangements?
No,
we did
show?
all our own stuff
No.
on the show. I think we were the only group to do that. The
Cool.
biggest change for me wasn't even that part, because I was kind of glad that the roles evolved post show. But I was more intrigued by the way we perceived ourselves, and the way we ran ourselves. The attitudes changed towards the band from within the band. So that was crucial because I think that was the key point of what allowed us to push the group further as a business and take it seriously enough to become a career.
Yeah. So you guys came in second in the end, which is really, really awesome. So
No, we're
from
actually
there, where
champion
did-
now.
The champion
is
group
that?
is no longer around, so you know how Miss Universe works.
So you came in first. From there, what sort of like happened for Micappella in terms of like moving forward and next steps for you guys?
Well, the first thing was to do. We definitely wanted to do an album, which resulted in the Here We Go album.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, a lot of people in Singapore were actually following the Sing-Off as well. So so we decided we had to commemorate this thing, this whole thing. So the Here We Go album was like a keepsake from the Sing-Off days, where we did covers of like we recorded whatever we did in the Sing-Off, like our arrangements.
Our most
of
well received covers from the show.
Yeah, and our favorite ones as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we did an original song called Here We Go
Yeah.
because of it was like a new starting point for us.
Yeah.
So Here We Go was like all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Like it's a new chapter in the band's life,
Yeah.
so to speak. And it did lead to eventually us getting signed by a Singaporean label, a mid-sized label, which is now defunct. So that was a promising start, and that went on for a couple I think 2-3 years.
But I
we
think
went out later.
from that point onwards, we really like went full blown, like full time. Like we've committed ourselves to actually go full time and really, really develop this band into like a business and something.
And then the crazy flying began.
Yeah.
We've been flying 4 or 5 times a year ever since on tours. So racked up a lot of miles.
What were some of the big places that you went to that you have fond memories of?
I mean, we went to Soul Jam.
So this is our second time to the US.
2013. We went for 2 Europe tours.
Cool.
Two.
2 Europe tours, and we went to Tasmania
In Australia.
for the Voices. What do you call
Festival
it?
of Voices?
Festival of Voices. Yeah,
Yes.
in Tasmania.
And I mean, just to rattle off a couple of other strange places, multiple Malaysia trips, China trips, Hong Kong, Taiwan,
Yep. Yeah, we had a
Moscow.
Yeah, Moscow is our most recent like crowning glory thingy.
There was a very strange trip to Myanmar.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that.
Yangon.
It was a bizarre trip. We were there for less than 24 hours, and then we were out. And then I think the most bizarre trip was probably one of the China tours. Like you go to places in China that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Like you can't find it on the map. You have to Google that. Well, wait, hang on. You can't Google that. You have to Baidu that. They don't have Google in China. So you have to figure everything out completely differently. So it's an interesting career, because
It's fun. I get to fly.
yeah. But I think it's always going to be extremely different from tour to tour, and we're always excited to experience new things.
What has your experience been, performing for such diverse audiences, considering that you have, a Chinese rep and an English rep and, trying to connect with all these different people who speak all different languages, are from everywhere?
Actually, I think it depends on the amount of knowledge they have about a cappella and forms of like singing like this when it comes to the country. And I think that determines the kind of audience reaction that we will get. So, for example, places like Europe, places like Tasmania, they were really cool about it. Like, they really loved it. It doesn't matter
Very
whether...
knowledgeable audiences.
Yeah, and they were very open-minded, and it didn't really matter that we were singing in Chinese. Like, I mean, as long as we explained, the meaning of the song to them, they were always supportive. They would clap, they would cheer, they would ask for an encore and stuff like that. They would even wave. We weren't even singing in Mandarin. We were singing in a Chinese dialect, and in Soul Jam, and people just whipped out their phones and started like waving their flashlights around, and that was like the coolest thing ever.
And this was years before Pitch Perfect 2.
Yeah. So, but for example, in certain rural places in China, they actually don't really get what we're doing. They think that we are actually we're like lip syncing, and then our sound engineer is doing all the work by playing a backing track. Yeah, so that's what they actually think. And and for some places where we went to an island kind of in China, and it was filled with farmers, basically
Retired farmers
who have a lot of money, because the government actually gave them a lot of money to for their land and stuff like that. So they don't really have much to do.
It was bizarre. It's like cell phones were a new thing to them.
Yeah. So they were a little bit
unusual,
uninterested. Basically, they were just not.
There is a cultural divide.
We
there is a definite cultural divide even within Asia, even within Chinese-speaking parts of Asia.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is we were actually speaking in Mandarin. We were speaking in a language that they could understand, but they just couldn't understand
what
we were doing on stage.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Basically.
So you came to Soul Jam in 2013, right?
Yep.
What was that like for you all?
Cold.
Yeah, it was freaking cold.
But then again, everything is cold to us.
No, that was the first time I actually experienced like sub-zero.
Was it sub-zero?
Temperatures? Yeah.
She means Celsius.
Oh.
I mean, yeah.
0 to you guys means something entirely different.
Yeah, 0 is
What's
really
zero
cold.
one?
No. 0 to them is negative 32 to us.
Oh.
Negative 32 centigrade
Right.
is where that they meet their negative
Okay, mine's
32
zero. Mine's
Fahrenheit.
zero.
Yours
Yeah.
is-
Not the same thing. Different scale.
Yeah, so I mean, I just remember it was really cool. But I really, really love the audience. And it was so fun to teach them how to sing because all of them can sing.
Yes.
Yeah, so the interactive part was beautiful. It was
Yeah.
like, it was so nice.
my God,
It's the
yeah.
best thing ever. Yeah.
It was a little bit bizarre because after the show, we were walking outside the hotel. A bunch of college kids drove past, blasting our CD
Oh my gosh.
in a convertible.
Uh-huh.
That was the weird part. It's so cold, and they were in a convertible. Like,
Like, he doesn't care about the fact that they were blasting
but
us.
that was
He's
the,
just like,
that
oh, they're
part was
driving
cool
a
too.
car.
I was like, isn't it cold? like they must be from like Alaska or something.
So y'all have been doing this for a while at this point. Like what as like kind of veterans of doing this and of the group and being, version 1.0, what have been like your takeaways of, being Micappella?
I mean, it's the only job I ever wanted. Ever since I could remember. Ever since I was 15. So for me, it's a 20-year-old dream. Okay, can we edit the 20-year-old? Like, you can figure out how old I am. It's a year-old dream that's still in progress.
Yeah.
For me, and I've never regretted it. There've been hard times and there've been challenges, but I've always loved working through it and growing from it and achieving new things.
I think what's important for me that I've really learned over
She's younger.
the many years that I've been with Micappella is that actually commitment is the most important.
Yep.
I feel that, like, for example, if we were to, touch wood, lose a member for whatever reasons, if I were to look for a member, it would be not more for his or her musical ability, but more of his or her sense of commitment
Yeah.
to the band. Because what makes a band stay are the members,
The intent.
Yeah, that and what drives the band forward is actually, the fact that everyone wants this band to go far. We want us to do well. So I think that's the most important thing
Right.
about, especially being in an a cappella group. I don't know why, but like I don't find like instrumental bands having this many problems compared to like a cappella groups.
Singers are divas.
I mean, not really, but
Okay, well, more so than bass players.
yeah, but like, so I feel that, and also in the sing-off, we experienced a lot of like other groups, like fighting. They even fought on camera, like, and they actually
So much drama.
put it out as an episode, of the band members fighting against each other. I mean, I don't know whether that was staged or not.
all the
but
other groups were like,
yeah, but like, okay, please, yeah. No, but I mean,
self-destruct.
yeah, and there are some groups who some members, they feel like they're the only ones doing all the work and stuff like that, blah blah blah. So,
And you hear that BS happen in the hotel because all the groups are staying in the same hotel.
yeah, and we're stuck together for 3 months, and that's a freaking long time,
Awkward.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, how you guys doing? Bad question.
Yeah, but like I was really proud of Micappella that we actually stayed together. I mean, we quarreled and stuff like that. It's normal, but we stayed together and we got through the competition together, and
Yep.
and now we're still going through all these things together as a band, and you can tell that everyone wants the best for Micappella. So I think that's the most important thing. Yeah.
So you've toughed it out. You've stuck together, which is an accomplishment in and of itself. And you've been out here for SoJam, but are coming back for Boss. Like, who is Micappella now, and what should audiences expect from a Micappella show?
Okay, I think there's a couple things that have changed in the time that we were at SoJam and now. And one of the biggest things is that I think we've found our footing converting from being known as an arts entity in Singapore, because when we first started, even when we first came back from the sing-off, we were like this arts group, which is fine. Yeah, but it kind of got annoying when we'll go to gigs and people are like, oh, so you're the a cappella group, so you guys are the ha 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 people? We're like, no. And now people refer to us not as an a cappella group or ensemble. They don't say group, they don't say ensemble.
They don't say choir.
They don't say choir.
Yeah.
They call us a band.
Yeah.
That's
They
awesome.
call us a band, and they refer to us as a pop group, firstly.
Cool.
Which for us is a huge deal, and it's something that we've always hoped for, especially when we got our first nominations in a pop music award as a pop group.
Yeah.
And we're like lined up next to other candidate pop groups.
That we idolize,
That we
for
were like-
example.
Like if you can imagine, let's say in the Grammys, Band of the Year, there's Linkin Park, and then there's like
Maroon 5.
Maroon 5, and then
One
there's
Republic.
Pentatonics, and then there's One Republic, and then there's Coldplay. You know, like just to get on that list and chucked in at number 3 or number 4 out of 5 is like, when you see that for the first time. Of course, now PTX has 2, so like, yeah, we know that they got it. But the first time it happened, everybody's like, right? And we had our version of that here, and that was that changed how we viewed ourselves. And I think this year's upcoming album, which most of which will be recorded during this trip in Boston, talk about that more in a minute, would be more about maturation. That's the general theme,
Getting old.
being comfortable with who we are, not so much trying to fight for something, not trying to fight so hard for a seat at the table, but knowing that we have our seat at the table.
And we're just really doing what we really, really want
And
to.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just contentment.
Yeah. So what sort of things do you both have on your plate for the future, and what like plans and goals do you have for Micappella going forward?
Well, for now, right now,
Yes. Yeah. In the meantime,
we're busy writing right now,
Yeah.
dealing with melody and lyrics right now, about to embark on arrangements which have to be finished before we board the plane, so that we can learn it on the plane.
Yeah, but I think like we would like to get like an equivalent of like what PTX did for like the Grammys, but in the Chinese mainstream
We've been
scene.
nominated,
Yes,
but
but
we've
like
never won.
yeah, so it'd be great if we could get recognized.
We need to get
And-
nominated again first.
Yeah, so that's why this album is going to be important as well.
Yeah.
Because
This
we're
is-
gonna
this-
send it.
Still important to have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, and to push forward to the goal of getting up there and going.
Yeah.
I think coming to Boston to record this particular new album is important because we've worked with the Plaid Boys for a very long time, and Ed Boyer and Bill and Dio and all the familiar names that you guys would have heard of, but we've never had a chance to work with them in person, and I think this is a chance to do that.
Yeah.
So we just have one last question.
Yeah.
What y'all are both obviously big fans of acapella. What are the trends that you're excited by and hope to see next as a whole for the art form?
Like I think the acapella scene in the US and in the Europe is pretty developed, but I think on our side, when it comes to the Asian market, I think like it would be great if we can get to the same level as what acapella is right now in the US, and it's getting there. I mean, thanks to the Sing Off and thanks to a lot of like college groups like emerging and doing more Chinese acapella music. So.
Yep.
I think personally, I would like to see like acapella groups singing Mandarin, like originals, Mandarin original, Mandarin covers, coming up, in the near future. Yeah.
That I guess that's the take with regards to Mandarin speaking groups in Asia.
Yeah.
My hope and observation is more along the lines of the consumer evolution, and their paradigm shift that is still in progress. For us, we've experienced a clearer paradigm shift in Singapore, partly because we're from here. So Taiwan's going pretty fast because they have 2 to 3 full-time groups right now, which are all considered pop groups, some of which are strangely similar to us. And China is just a really unique market and completely different monster in and of itself. Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot longer, and it might take one major breakthrough for there to be a cultural change in China. But once that does, it would mean a completely different ballgame to all Chinese-speaking groups, because once China decides to open up, it's usually irreversible.
Yeah, so it's cool, as in, like, I really think it's cool. Like, I hear, like, school groups covering our covers, you know? Like,
Covering our covers.
yeah, like the stuff we sang on the sing-off, we sang a lot of covers. Actually, all of them were covers. And basically, we did a few arrangement stuff, like to make it a little bit more interesting and stuff. And they actually transcribed the audio version of it, and they sing it live on stage. And we've also had, like, school groups, like, doing like a show and tell thing, where they actually sing our covers to us and ask us for our opinion, and I think that's the coolest thing ever for me. Yeah.
There's only been one case so far where a group in Beijing called Syntonia, it's a music school. It's kind of like Berklee College of Music, but like Beijing version. And they covered one of the songs that we wrote.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's a major thing for us, because that's the correct direction that we want to head in, and we want to try to encourage that.
Yeah, we just hope that a lot more groups like this would, like, appear in China, and maybe
the horizon,
the general awareness of a cappella would increase,
Yeah, well, you were talking about a big breakthrough, and I think a new album from Micappella with a lot of original songs, I think will go a long way to do that.
I hope so. Please tell all your Chinese friends.
We will. We want to thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for
It was
having
really a
me.
pleasure to talk to you. I'm glad we could make it happen despite all the time zones and everything. And we hope that you join us next week for a new episode of Head Voice.
Thank you.
Bye, man. Go Red Sox.